This episode of Chat Bubbles is brought to you by Netflix. For a free 30-day trial, head over to netflix.com/GameBreakerTV. Howdy folks, my name is Richie and welcome back to another episode of Chat Bubbles. Today I want to know, what is your biggest MMO accomplishment? What is that one thing that you did either by yourself or with a group or a guild that you just can't stop thinking about how awesome that experience was? What gives you the greatest sense of satisfaction? What was the most difficult maybe? Or maybe what achievement or accomplishment took the longest to actually acquire? This is the kind of story I want to hear from you. I'm going to share my story. My story dates back to when I was a guild master and raid leader in World of Warcraft. We were raiding in a 25-man guild at the time of the Burning Crusade, and we were working on Kael'thas, who was the last boss in the Tempest Keep, the Eye. And this fight was just known to be just a guild breaker. It was absolutely brutal. It was a 5-phase fight, and it was really tough for my guild. We started working on it, and I think we put in 4 weeks or so working on that boss, and would make very, very little progress. Out of the 5 phases, we would consistently get to phase 2, where he summoned a bunch of animated weapons, and they had to all be killed very, very quickly because the next phase would start on a timer, and if you didn't have all the floating weapons dead, you weren't prepared for the next phase, and that's how we wiped over and over again, because we just didn't have enough damage or enough DPS or the wrong strategy to get them down all at once. So for about a month, we went in there consistently and just died over and over again until the point where the morale of our raiding team was destroyed. I was the type of raid leader who, for better or for worse, just wanted to stick to my target. I was kind of like, Captain Ahab with his white whale, and I'll wipe on something forever, just to get it done. But Blizzard actually made a change to the instance while we were working on this that allowed you to skip. Originally you had to kill Kael'thas and Lady Vosh in order to move on to the next tier of raiding, but they actually, took out that requirement so you could go right into Mount Hyjal, and Black Temple. So a lot of members of my guild, after a month of wiping on Kael'thas, just said, "Why are we even doing this? Let's just go on to the next instances." And I begrudgingly agreed, and we started, to get our morale back up by fighting some easier bosses in this next tier of content. So we didn't go back to Kael'thas for several months. We were making some progress in this other tier. We were getting some loot, and like I said, morale improved. But it always just stuck. It always nagged me that we skipped Kael'thas, never beat him, and I really wanted my white whale. So I talked to the other guild management, and we came up with the idea to have a Kael'thas week. Now, this is several months later. We were going to have a Kael'thas week where we're going to have one full week where we do nothing but Kael'thas. Now that we have, better morale and we have some new gear and stuff like that, let's try him again and see if we can take him out once for all. And we said, if you're not into that and you didn't want to do that, that's fine. Don't show up. But we want to take, a week of raiding and do this. So we show up for Kael'thas week. 4 raid nights we have. The first night, it was a lot of just relearning what we had already learned. I don't think we got out of phase 2 at all. We just basically got right back to where we were. And it was kind of disheartening, The second night, we actually started making some progress. We started beating the weapon phase. Phase 2 was going down. We started working on phase 3 a bit, which was another tough phase. And we didn't get much further than that. Night 3, we had a couple little breakthrough moments where we were almost through phase 3, dipped our toes in phase 4, and it was kind of starting to get clear to me that if we had like another week to do this, like if we were going to do this for 2 weeks, we would probably be able to get this down. But I was starting to get really discouraged by the end of the 3rd night. We never saw phase 4, we never saw phase 5, and I was starting to get all defeated. Now the final night was kind of more of the same. We had a couple moments where we broke through and got into phase 4, and we saw our first few sneak peeks, but it seemed like we needed more work in phase 4. Now, obviously, we had never seen phase 5 of the Kael'thas fight before, so right toward the end of the night, I kind of resolved myself that this was not going to happen, and people were not going to really tolerate another Kael'thas week, so I just kind of was going to throw in the towel, and like, we're never going to get Kael'thas. We'll just move on, and it is what it is. But so I announced to the guild, I'm like, let's just give it one last attempt. It's like almost midnight or whatever. So on the very last attempt, I don't know what it was. We're getting through phase 1, really smooth. Phase 2, the weapons they melted. Phase 3, went smoothly. We got into phase 4 in better shape than we'd ever gotten before, and we hit phase 5 for our first time ever. We never saw phase 5. My heart was racing. I was like, I could barely like touch my keyboard or the mouse correctly because I'm shaking so much. My adrenaline was surging, and somehow, some way, we pulled it off. First time seeing phase 5, we actually killed Kael'thas, and the guild like freaked out. Everybody freaked out, and I felt like it was like euphoric. I felt so relieved that that happened because it was perfect. We were never going to go in there again, and this was the last attempt on the last night of Kael'thas week. And if this was all or nothing, if it didn't happen there, we would never have beaten that boss. And it was just such a great sense of accomplishment. I felt all redeemed because here a lot of the members of my guild were like, why is he making us go through a week of Kael'thas? We hate that fight, blah, blah, blah. But I felt like, we got the result that I really desperately wanted. And it felt so good, and it's still something I'll never, ever forget. So that's my very lengthy story about my most difficult, my biggest accomplishment, my best, proudest moment in my MMO history. So I want to know what your epic story is. What is the thing that you will carry with you for the rest of the life? What did you do by yourself or with a guild that you will never forget? Leave me a comment in the comment section below and let me know your story. I can't wait to read everything. Also, don't forget to stay dialed in to Game Breaker for all your video game news, and I just want everybody to have a fantastic day. Take care.